How's it going, guys? I'm here to take a look at Dragon Ball Season 2 on DVD. So I reviewed the first season on DVD. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I talked in depth about a lot of things that happened in that season, what I enjoyed. But I figured, I'd throw in a little bit of a different presentation for this video. So this is actually, once again, like I said, with the first season. The seasons are presented in a much different fashion than how they originally aired in Japan, because the show actually, even though this says season 2, it begins a few episodes into season 3 and it ends a few episodes into season 5. If that's not confusing, then, I don't know what is. But, when we refer to the episodes, we're going to be talking about them in reference to how they appear on the DVD. So I'm going to share a few of my favorite moments. So without further ado, here we go. So to start off, this is just a phenomenal DVD. Phenomenal seasons are included. So this is mostly revolving around the Red Ribbon Army and all the different generals that are part of it, and there's also a whole color scheme going on. We have a bunch of generals that are all color-coded, and we'll talk about them. So we've got Commander Red, who is the leader of the army. He's this short, cigar-chomping villain, and they kind of given him some sort of like weird, very light Irish accent in the dub. So we're mostly talking about the dub, because I've talked about it in the past. I watch dubbed anime. I'm not a big fan of reading subtitles, and I know a lot of people have big problems about that, and they say you really haven't seen Dragon Ball. But see, what I do on the DVDs, they say you haven't seen Dragon Ball in reality, like the real original way that it was supposed to be if you don't watch it with the subtitles and you don't watch in the original Japanese. Well, first of all, I don't understand Japanese, so it's very hard for my ear to accept like Japanese voiceovers. If I can't understand what they're saying, it really loses me. Like, the emotion is lost on me, and I've tried it, and I can't sit there for an entire episode. So, you could say what you want. You could tell me that, what I'm saying is just completely bullshit, and that I'm not a true fan, and, you could say whatever you want. That's perfectly fine, and you have every right to say those things, but this is how I like to watch Dragon Ball. I don't think that makes me any less of a fan, and you're still getting the same story. Now, we are going to talk about a lot of censorship, and this is probably an example of what you should do, what I do. Keep the subtitles on. And on these DVDs, it's the same thing like the orange bricks for DBZ, and the same thing for the Dragon Ball Super DVDs. You actually can't watch these with the English subtitles that reflect the English dub. You have to watch them with the English subtitles that would normally correspond to the original Japanese voice track. So that's interesting, but you will see what these characters were originally saying in the original Japanese. So this is kind of like a happy compromise, and I have watched them like this ever since, watching Dragon Ball Z with the orange brick. So, if this is not something that you were aware of, I recommend that it is something that you should do if you're like me and you like to watch dubbed anime. So the first Red Ribbon Army guy that Goku comes up against is Commander Silver. And this is like a really boring general. He's nothing special to speak of. It's not even like he has an exciting look or anything like that, or an interesting personality. He's very bland. So Goku dispatches him, kind of like just a filler character, I guess, to just kind of throw somebody in there that, could oppose Goku with martial arts, but he doesn't stand a chance. So Goku finds a robot that takes him, flying so he could get to where he needs to go to stop the Red Ribbon Army from getting the rest of the Dragon Balls, because they've already taken one of the Dragon Balls from Emperor Pilaf and the gang. So that's basically what they're doing, the Red Ribbon Army. They're going after the Dragon Balls so Commander Red can wish for world domination. But we find that that's not really the wish that he is really going to wish for. But we'll save that discussion for the Season 3 DVD review. But it's really hilarious that he actually is kind of fooling his own army for a certain reason, making them think that they're going to take over the world, with the use of the Dragon Balls, but that's not actually going to happen. So the first real general that really challenges Goku, and not really directly, it's kind of indirectly, is in Muscle Tower. So Goku gets on this plane with the robot. It crash lands after the robot short circuits due to it getting attacked. They crash land in Jingle Village. Goku is rescued by a young girl named Sano, who befriends him, and she tells him about Muscle Tower, where the town elder is being held, so Goku agrees to help them. And when he's inside Muscle Tower, this is like where things really start to pick up on the DVD, where things really start to pick up for the season, and it gets pretty exciting. First we got Metalotron, which is like Goku's first like really big challenge as far as a villain goes, like directly like in combat. Because, you know, Pilaf really couldn't challenge him, you know, in combat. But this is really funny if you watch this in the dub, and even if you're watching it with the original Japanese, this is a parody on the Arnold Schwarzenegger character in The Terminator. I mean, you could clearly see that. Not so much in the name, but I mean, look at the character and how much it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And even the voiceover, just geniusly done. You know, it's just the right amount of like Arnold in there, but, you know, not quite. But it's pretty funny, and I like this idea. It's like a really big challenge also for Goku. There's like moments when you think he has him down. You really see Goku struggle, and this is kind of the first time where we see, well, Goku just can't go around and dominate everybody. You know, there's going to be some opposition. The only time we saw really Goku be opposed was in the World Tournament. So this is pretty refreshing to see. We see the challenges that Goku would face, and they'd only get greater and greater down the line. So this is kind of a way of kind of whetting your appetite for that. So after dispatching Metalotron, he runs out of batteries, basically. You know, he's kind of disabling him left and right, you know, taking off body parts, but it ends up that he just fucking runs out of batteries. So I thought that was kind of hilarious that it kind of just ends that way. Murasaki is up next. He's climbing through the tower trying to get to the Elder. This is also really hilarious because Murasaki is like a ninja. You know, he practices ninjutsu. So, you know, it's basically the art of like deception and hiding, and he's doing some of the most ridiculous things imaginable, like he's breathing through a straw while he's in the water so Goku can't find where he is. And you know, Goku's basically outsmarting him left and right. Like, Murasaki kind of never stands a chance. They're just kind of, Goku's just kind of really playing with him until he introduces Ader. And you think, like, once you see Ader, you see a big Frankenstein motherfucker. You think it's on. You think Goku is gonna have to go up against this guy. And he's introduced as Android 8. And actually, it's actually supposed to be Cyborg 8 in the Japanese, but you know, when they did the dub, they kind of wanted to, you know, bridge the gap between the androids that you see in Dragon Ball Z, like 17, 18, 19, and 20. So, you know, they threw in the 8s right there, and they're like, let's change Cyborg. Now, the only thing is, he's not a human, so it doesn't really make any sense, but, you know, he looks like Frankenstein. That's basically what he is. And we find out that he does not want to fight. And, you know, Murasaki and General White are just, like, disparaging him, saying, like, oh, you know, he's just a failed android. But Goku befriends him, and, you know, he sees that Goku is pure of heart, and they really take a liking to one another, and they become friends. And from this point, Ader helps him out, you know, helps him get through the rest of the tower. There's this great scene when they're running through this maze, and it keeps on shifting, and Goku can't find out where he's going. And then Ader kind of gets in there, and he helps him along. And I really like this sequence where he's, like, running through the maze. I thought that this was, like, we've seen it before. It's kind of like, you know, rotating bookshelves. You know that old gag, but it's kind of done in a different way. Where I kind of like, you know, all the tricks and traps there in Muscle Tower. It really feels like it's a huge gauntlet. So when Goku finally gets to the top of Muscle Tower, you know, he has a tussle with White. He tries to tempt Ader, you know, into turning on Goku, and he threatens that he's going to kill the Elder. and then he shoots Goku, and this is like, you see like Ader's upset, and then he just fucking wallops White, and he goes fucking flying. That is one of the most satisfying things, because you see like Ader doesn't want to do anything, he really won't help, and it's not that he's lazy or doesn't want to do anything, he's really pure of heart, and he does not like fighting, and he keeps on saying this. And it's a really interesting dynamic, and it's really satisfying when it builds to a crescendo, and he sees Goku just drop to the ground, and he's been shot with a fucking shotgun, and he thinks that's it. You know, we kind of know that Goku's not done there. I don't know about anyone who was reading the manga when this happened, or was watching the anime, and they maybe thought that maybe this was the end, but I can't really see that possible, that anyone would actually believe that. But, you know, you see that just Ader can't take it anymore. He just fucking punches the shit out of White, and he goes flying. It's awesome. I love it. Then we move on. Murasaki tries to get his revenge, but then he ends up dying. He gets blown up, which is something we'll see a little bit later on with Tao, which is very reminiscent of that. So he kind of gets what's coming to him. Ader is introduced to the rest of the village. They remove the bomb from his body. And, you know, it's kind of a very happily ever after type of story, especially after all the shit that they've been through. It's like, that's kind of like what you feel in this season. What I really like, after everything's like all said and done, you kind of breathe a sigh of relief. You're like, oh man, like, wow, that was a tussle. Like, you kind of feel the struggle in Muscle Tower. I mean, you do. You gotta like watch it and see, like, you see like it's a hard fought battle and it's displayed as such. So you don't feel like it's a cakewalk at any time. So when Goku finally gets to the top, you know, and it's basically Ader doing the finishing touches, it's really satisfying, and you really feel like you've gotten the complete story there going. And then you have the happy ending, but the story's not really over, but the chapter is. So it's really like, you know, they kept it going, but still, like, you kind of still have a happy moment there where you feel like there's some closure, at least to a piece of this giant Dragon Ball puzzle. Then we've got a new commander in place of White, and it's General Blue. Then I really like the episode that follows where Goku looks for Bulma in the city, so they could track down the last of the Dragon Balls. And this is a really fun episode. Goku is seeing a city for the first time in his life. A big city like this. I mean, he did see Papaya Island during the World Tournament, but you can't really count that because this is like the first time he's really seeing a big, gigantic city with skyscrapers and all this futuristic stuff. And the way the city looks, can imagine the first time seeing West City, seeing Bulma's hometown. It must have been breathtaking. I mean, this is like a Back to the Future Part 2 type of scenario. Maybe not that crazy, but kind of somewhere on par with that. You know you're in the future. You know you're looking at something totally unique from something else that's not of our world. And it really fits the place that Bulma should be from. You know, she loves technology. She's a scientist. And we meet Dr. Briefs. But before that, Goku gets involved in the street fight. He wins some money. Then he meets up with a bunch of street toughs that try to con him out of his money. And we've got Goku having like this little playful exchange, like trying to get a police officer to help him. Very charming episode. I loved everything about this. This is like, you know, they really like extended the episode to make it, you know, just all about charm and just fun. Like, he could have just kind of found Bulma right away, but they prolonged this just so you could get like some comedy out of it. And these are the type of episodes where, you know, they kind of take a break every now and again from like the main story and the real like hustle and bustle of the story itself, and, you know, they cool it down a little bit. It is filler, but this is what you call fun filler. And I know a lot of people attack it. A lot of people say there's no room for filler, but there is room for filler when it comes to me and Dragon Ball as a whole. Then we've got a new commander in place of White, and it's General Blue. And this is where we really start to get the big personalities of the generals. And we see that Blue is like one of the most unorthodox, and he's also, finally, we're getting a great fighter here. a guy who could actually give Goku a run for his money in terms of fighting skills, and he's not a machine. But he is like a machine as far as it goes fighting. So Goku, Krillin, and Bulma all get together, and they're looking for one of the Dragon Balls, and they find out that it's inside a pirate cave, and I just absolutely love this. I love the episodes inside the pirate cave. They come upon a pirate robot which is guarding everything. So, Blue follows them into the cave and his men. There's booby traps and everything like that as they're making their way through the pirate cave, and they see like dead skeletons and everything. It's like really like a classic adventure, and we've got the robot here. And if you're watching the dub, they add in like some pirate sounds, and he's yo ho ho, yo ho ho. And he's saying like different like pirate phrases, so that was a bit charming. So see, those are some of the things like in the dub that you kind of miss when you watch it subtitled. I don't see that like connection where you're just basically reading and you're not really getting a whole lot of emotion. I mean, you're watching the characters, watching the way it's drawn, and you can see facial expressions, but it's just very unattractive to me. Just something that's not alluring to me in the least bit. Like, I feel like I probably really might not be a fan of Dragon Ball if this show was not available with a dub, and I really feel that way. I mean, can't really stress it enough. I really don't like watching things with subtitles, and this is why I have not seen a lot of subtitled movies that I really wanted to see. Take Passion for the Christ. I want to see that movie more than anything, but I don't want to sit there for 3 hours and read subtitles, even though I'm a huge Mel Gibson fan. But, that's besides the point. It's just an example. I just don't want to sit there and read for several hours when I'm trying to just be entertained and enjoy myself. It just feels like an extra task that I really shouldn't have to do. I mean, I get the point of why people do it, but, they want to see the original. They feel like that's the real canon version, and that it may be, but I don't feel like I'm watching something that's completely unrelated. I mean, that's what I don't really get about the people who are hardcore sub fans. Okay, so if you watch dub and you prefer dub, that means that all the people who enjoy it are automatically not true fans. I'm just not buying it. So this is a really good adventure, and we see the one thing that's really funny that they edited out of Dragon Ball, and this is like one of the really big edits. So you'll see a lot of the edits with Master Roshi in this. They really try to like do the best they can, and it looks very stupid. That's where I'm gonna be a double-faced coin here and say, yeah, the subtards are like way too harsh on the dub fans, and I don't think it's right. But you could start to see the argument where you see how ridiculous they are with some of the censorship stuff. This is even after they stopped censoring things with Z. But the perverted stuff is like supposed to be a really pivotal part of Master Roshi's character. And when they kind of change, like, Master Roshi asking to see Bulma's breast, and they change it to a kiss, just kind of really like fucks things up. But Blue, they really try to just take out the fact that the guy is gay, and this kind of ruins the character. And I get why this is edgy, and I get why this was offensive, and they started dubbing this in 2002. So, I mean, they come up with a decent excuse about him being like a hygienic freak. So when it comes time for like Bulma trying to distract them by coming on to him, they realize that he's gay. And, I knew this because I was watching it with the subtitles, but them saying that he was a hygiene freak, I mean, it made it less controversial, but this kind of changes the actual nature of what the joke is supposed to be. And I mean, it is kind of funny, but it also is kind of like a little bit nonsensical. I mean, like, he's that hygienic, but he's still going to go into a deep, dark, dirty cave and everything. I mean, I get it. It's a fantasy. Nothing's really supposed to make like sense at every single angle that you look at it from. But I mean, this was a little bit stupid. I mean, what would be so wrong? I don't think that this was really supposed to be offensive to gay people. Like, I don't think that was the intention. I think it was just kind of supposed to show that Bulma's charms are not going to work for a change like they did on others. So, you know, with that in mind, I don't really see like the need for the change. I really don't think it would have been that controversial back then. I think now, looking back, I'm so really surprised that a lot of people, I don't see more of this online, like attacking the sub for like, oh my god, they dared like do this with a character, like exploit like his sexuality. And I think it was perfectly harmless. But you'll see in the next episode. So I really like when the cave is falling apart and they gotta get out of there, and Goku is still looking for the Dragon Ball. And there's like a lot of tension in these scenes that follow. It's like really exciting, and then the submarine conks out on them, and you know, it's just a really thrilling like action movie scenario, and you just didn't get these kinds of things in Dragon Ball Z. That's why I can't stress enough like why I am just like kind of flabbergasted there's so many people that never saw Dragon Ball before, who wouldn't even give it the time of day, who actually said it was boring. When I was in school, I distinctly remember that people saying in high school that they thought that Dragon Ball was boring, just because it didn't have those high octane fight scenes and you didn't have all the big blasts and everything like you did. So I just think when I look at scenes like this and sequences, I'm like, man, so many people were missing out on so much back then that they would not give this a chance. Then Goku goes off on his own after this, and he finds himself in Penguin Village, and he meets up with Arale from the Dr. Slump anime and manga. And the thing is, this has got to be like one of my favorite episodes. I absolutely just love this to pieces. And this is an anime that never quite caught on in the US because they've never given it like the full dub treatment. They did like a long time ago, I think in the late 80s, early 90s. But I don't even think it's really that good of a dub, and it's very hard to come by, and it hasn't been like released on home video in like ages. But I love the characters. I love all the unique, quirky people that are like in this universe. There's so much to love. Arale is this little android girl. She's so cute and adorable, and the whole thing is just charming. The world that she lives in is just totally fucking bonkers. And I know a lot of people were kind of confused by this when they saw it in Dragon Ball Super, where she makes her grand return. And that's one of the things which gets underappreciated about Dragon Ball Super, how it really brought back that Dragon Ball charm. Like, there's Dragon Ball Z charm, and then there's Dragon Ball charm, and Dragon Ball Super kind of managed to find that happy medium. And that's why I love Dragon Ball Super so much, and I talked about that in my DVD reviews. And then we get another scene with General Blue that's so weird and awkward, and you're just kind of asking yourselves, like, why did they make this change about him being gay? Because when there's one of these characters from Penguin Village that try to help him after he steals a car from a police officer, you know, he's in hot pursuit of Goku and the Dragon Balls. So what happens? Blue needs help getting his car started. So one of the characters in Penguin Village helps him out, and he is so taken by this little guy because he's so kind. And even though General Blue is this very, very mean, bad guy and murderous guy, for some reason, he likes the nice type. So you see him leaning in for a kiss, and he's saying, oh, he's just my type. And you see this in the subtitles, but what is he saying in the dub? He's saying, oh, it reminds me of my long-lost brother. So you're going to kiss your long-lost brother? I like this scene right here. I was like, okay, this is like when they were really dubbing things very well, and they knew what they were doing. I just don't know how they came to terms with saying, like, okay, let's approve this scene. I didn't think that this really worked at all. I'm like, okay, this kind of really doesn't make sense. And you made the scene like 10 times more awkward. Because that was kind of the whole point, that the guy doesn't even realize like what he's doing. Because, you know, Penguin Village, everyone's kind of in their own little world, their own little universe in Penguin Village, and they kind of all have their own little universe within a universe. You know, they got all their own characters and nothing makes sense, and it's just so wacky. It kind of just, you know, you lose the joke here. And, you know, Blue gets mad at him and everything because, you know, he's being ignored pretty much, and he sees that as being rejected. So Goku is trying to get Dr. Slump to help him with the radar. And Blue confronts Goku, and Arali kind of doesn't understand threats because she's just a little girl, but then she says, like, oh, you know, Dr. Slump says, go play with him, and she ends up giving him this big headbutt, and he goes blasting off to the heavens in this hilarious scene, and he ends up in the middle of the desert. He doesn't know where the fuck he is, and I thought that was a really hilarious touch, and it really adds to just the wacky nature. Like, you kind of felt like in Dragon Ball Z, like, even though there's some crazy stuff, there was kind of like a set of rules where things don't get that crazy, if you kind of know what I mean, but they still sort of do. And Dragon Ball was kind of like, there wasn't a lot of rules, because you could introduce these other little universes, like this little pocket universe that still exists. Like, Penguin Village is still in Goku's world, but this was kind of a really nice crossover, and I really liked what they did here. After General Red hears of Blue's failure, things really start to heat up with the introduction of Mercenary Tao. And Tao is just a badass in every sense of the word. The design of this character, the long ponytail, the things what he does, that he picks up a giant fucking pillar, throws it into the air, and then starts riding on it. You're familiar with him if you've watched Dragon Ball Z and not Kai. Where he confronted Gohan in a little filler episode during the Cell Game saga. And it was a really little entertaining episode that if you have not seen it, I would recommend it. But aside from that, Tao really makes his mark felt. So Goku helps out two Native American characters by the name of Bora, the father, and Upa, the son. And after saving them, Goku learns about the sacred land of Korin, and he's staying there with them, and Tao finds out his location. He's been hired by General Red to go get the Dragon Ball and to kill Goku. He is a hitman. But first, before any of that happens, General Blue is in big trouble. You know, they're basically gonna kill him. But he is able to keep his job with the Red Ribbon Army if he can defeat Mercenary Tao. And Tao promises that he can kill Blue without using his feet and hands. So how does he end up killing him? With his fucking tongue. Yes, he does. He fucking uses his tongue to penetrate his skull, and he instantly kills Blue. And probably one of the most hilarious and somewhat disturbing scenes probably in the whole entire Dragon Ball series. But it's really like, it's there, you know, for laughs. But, you know, you really see that Tao means business, and this guy is like an unorthodox fighter. You're not going to see this guy doing anything that anyone else has before. And this is about to be Goku's biggest challenge. Like, it makes all the stuff that he's done in the Muscle Tower look like a fucking cakewalk, because Tao finds Goku in the sacred land of Korin, comes there, uses his Dodon Ray, blasts Goku in the chest. Goku appears to be fucking dead. And he also takes out Bora, Umpa's father, in probably one of the most depressing scenes that you will ever see. Like, if you don't feel a lump in your throat during this scene, I gotta say, like, you might be heartless. So Bora tells Goku first, like, don't step in, and he tries fighting Tao, and he's like no match for him. So what does he do? He ends up throwing the spear at Bora when he's in midair. Spear goes right through his chest. He's pretty much dead. And, you know, you see Umpa's reaction, like running towards his fallen father. Oh my god, this is probably one of the saddest scenes that you will see in all of the Dragon Ball series. I can't really think of like any other scenes that was like really that sad and depressing. I mean, kind of like when Vegeta is talking to Goku at the end, when he's about to, get together and throw the Spirit Bomb at Buu. The things that he says to Goku are very heartfelt, but this is like really like a very, very sad scene, and it really, like, to say it tugged at my heartstrings. I mean, it fucking like yanked at them, like pulled on them like a tug of war. It is a very emotional scene. So Goku knows now that he has to, he's alive, of course. He ends up getting up because the Dragon Ball that was in his shirt saved him. And Tao doesn't realize this, and he took the rest of Goku's Dragon Balls. But then Red informs him that they're still coming up on the radar. There's still one ball left. So he says he's going to head back, but first he has to wait, for a tailor of all things. So he says he's going to head back in 3 days. So Goku decides that he's going to climb to the top of Korin Tower so he can retrieve the sacred water, which will gain him more power so he can defeat Mercenary Tao. So he has to climb up, and I like this arduous climb as Goku is working towards his goal. So he gets to the top, and, well, sure enough, it's Korin, the cat. So you pretty much know this character from Dragon Ball Z. He was a bit of a minor character, but I've always loved Korin. I've always liked his, like, old lady Brooklyn voice. Hey there, Goku, kind of like that kind of voice. And I just always loved his dub voice. It's just really, being a New Yorker, it really hits home for me, and I really enjoyed those kinds of accents, and I thought it was always a very interesting choice ever since DBZ. So we kind of just leave off on the DVD on a cliffhanger. Goku finds out that the last person who made it to the top was actually Master Roshi, and it took him 3 years to get the sacred water away from Korin, because Korin is not going to let Goku have it. And I kind of like this whole playful nature of it. Like, he could just give it to him, but he's got to get this sacred water away from Korin. So Korin's not even going to attack him. He's just constantly dodging him, and he's just so agile that it seems almost impossible. But Goku is super determined. He needs to get that sacred water. He needs to defeat Mercenary Tao. But he's being told that the man who trained him, Master Roshi, it took him 3 years to get that bottle away from Korin. So I think that they ended it at a good point on this DVD. I really thought, like, yeah, okay, if you're going to end it and you're going to kind of make up your own DVD seasons, and that, like I said, I'm not complaining about this, because, instead of 9 seasons, instead of doing the 9 DVDs like they did with the DBZ Orange Bricks, they condensed things down, which is definitely much appreciated. Now, of course, DBZ has more episodes, so you can kind of start to see why they did that. But anyway, guys, I think that you'll really enjoy this DVD if you have not. I'm really talking to people who have not seen Dragon Ball, by the way. If you're watching this and you have seen Dragon Ball and you just want to hear my opinion on it, that's great, and I absolutely appreciate you stopping by. I mean, this is definitely for, you people too, so you can enjoy the video. But definitely I'm trying to, like, talk more to the people who have not seen this and not given it the time of day, because you're really missing out on something great. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.